What's up, guys? I am continuing on this. I didn't throw it in the garbage. I guess this will be part 2. But there's a modification I did to this engine that I want to talk about. It's really cool. If you like Briggs and Stratton, their little engines are, I don't know, they have a built-in compression release it's weird. You know, the way they do it, and I don't know, we'll get into it. What I've done, there's a guy on YouTube. His channel's called Jeep 2003. He's a small channel. He has more subscribers than me, but still a relatively small channel. And he showed me this really simple trick. And what you do is you simply take the intake valve out and you file the little end until you get this desired effect. See, we're on the exhaust stroke. See, it's pushing it out. Okay, now it's opening the intake valve and it's on the intake stroke. But normally, this engine on a normal 5-horse Briggs, the valve would stay open. See, watch. It'll stay open and then only close at about right there, about a 1/2 inch or 5/8 of an inch down. But when you grind the tip of the valve stem, the valve shuts sooner. It's shut all the way at the bottom of the stroke. See, the valve's shut. I wish I had another engine. I'd show you what I meant. But what it equates to is originally this thing had like 50 or 60 psi compression. And now it has something like 100 or 120, 110. It's a lot. I'll do a compression test after I get it put together, and I'll show you what I mean. And it makes this little motor rip. I mean, it says 5-horse, but it's got as much power as a Predator, if not more. So Jeep's a real cool guy. He does some really neat stuff on his channel. He makes some really cool custom things. The video where I seen this, he disabled comments, you know, and if I was to comment on that video, I'd say, Jeep, that's the coolest thing ever. You're a freaking genius. So, this is the only engine I've done that to. I have a couple other Briggs engines I want to try it on. I have one for my old Trail King that's kind of lethargic. It'd be kind of neat, you know, if it'll stay together to do that. It's a 3.5 horse Briggs, you know. You can see it one more time here. I'm going the wrong way. I'm retarded. So, exhaust, intake, sucking it in. You see what I'm doing here? And then now the valve is shutting already at the bottom of the stroke. See, it's already shut. And then you get that full stroke of compression. It's such a cool mod. I really dig it. So if you go over there and give the guy a subscribe, if you don't know who he is, Jeep 2003. He makes some really neat stuff, some really clean builds. You know, miniature lawnmowers and miniature Vespas, and it's a mini bike go-kart channel. It's really cool. Go over there and give him a subscribe from me. Yeah, next, what I want to do is clean this head, because there's some carbon that can mess up the rings, and I got them all clean. So I'm going to take this over to my bench grinder and see how cool and pretty and clean I can get it. Noise alert! Oh, I gotta plug it in. No noise yet, guys. finish it with my angle die grinder. But it turned out pretty good. Get all the carbon out. I mean, I'm not trying to port and polish it or something. Just get it clean again. Okay. I'm going to put the head back on. I am going to reuse the old gasket. These are made out of a kind of a squishy material. There's not a lot of pressure. So I've done it before. It's worked. This one's in good shape. Now I took all the bolts out, and sometimes you leave the bolts in. This is kind of neat. Keeps them all in like a little bolt caddy. But there's these. These are all short. And there's longer ones. The longer ones go around the exhaust port. You know, that's where they go. So, put this gasket into place. It's a little fidgety because it is old. Am I doing this wrong? Okay. Now, these are torqued to something like 140 inch-pounds, which is like 12 something foot-pounds. I don't know if I explained it before. An inch-pound is it's an inch and a foot's 12 inches, so that's kind of how you do the math. But I don't think that's even necessary. I don't even use a torque wrench. I just tighten them down by hand. Good and tight. You know. You can make the click sound if it makes you feel better. Click. And then when you're driving it, since the bolts are exposed, I just let it heat up once, kind of go back over them again, and then periodically check them. This is something that does come loose. 5-horse Briggs motor, my experience. They come loose. You just gotta get them good and tight, like that. Don't go crazy. Go till it stops. That's it. Pretty easy. Clean that up. Now all this stuff's old stuff, but it still works just fine. Got my coil. Flywheel. I gotta find my flywheel key. These are real easy. You don't put the key in yet. You gotta put the flywheel on first. And then root around for your little baby key that you lost because you didn't keep track of things. I got a whole bunch of these. They're genuine Briggs and Stratton flywheel keys. I'm gonna wiggle it. Get her in there. Washer. And then this thing. You kind of, I like to use a light oil in here somewhere. I got some W480 generic. You just screw these on. Now a lot of people say, yes, you should have the tool. There is a tool for this. But I use a piece of wood and a hanger. I use a little hammer so I don't go crazy. Just put on the bigger ear. Well, you can see that there's bigger ears. Somebody's already hit this with a hammer. Like this. I don't want to go too crazy. That's it. Tight. You know? Take a little wire brush, clean the magnet. And this thing, your coil, kind of just holds it in place. Oh, that's too much work. I want to move it. You know, and you might be tempted to take this little vane off, but it helps with cooling. You know, these things do have a fan in it. They keep pretty cool. You know, they're designed to be in power equipment that just sits there. So, I don't know. I run it. These are 5/16 or 8mm. So what I do, I reach into my wallet and I find a business card. Do I even have a business card? I may need to go find a business card. Brief intermission. Got a business card. This is my friend's business. Okay. Yes, a business card. Oops. Oh, I did it again. That's a good magnet on this thing. A business card is, it's 15 thousandths. And this, it requires 10 thousandths. So it's a little wide, but I've done this a million times and it's always worked for me. So, what am I doing here? You gotta hold it up. And then put the card in. And then spin it around to the magnet. And let it loose. Oops, see how it snapped back down on there? And then just give her a little snuggie. Don't go crazy. These are little tiny screws and little aluminum threads. You don't need a million foot-pounds. Probably doesn't even need 5 inch-pounds. Boomity boom. Out it comes. Picking up stuff with the magnet. There it is. It's not hard. You know, like I said, I'm not a genius, and I can do it, so I think you could do it. Next, I gotta find all these little screws and put this stuff back on. This thing has a rope start, you know, but I'll do it off camera. We'll get some other stuff, and we'll should be ready. I got oil for it. 1030. We'll put some oil in it. Put the carburetor on. I'll show you the carburetor. That's pretty neat. And see if we can get her to start right here on a bench. Okay, cover's on. There's no carburetor or intake yet, or exhaust yet. Actually, I want to show you what I'm talking about with this mod. I have a compression tester here. We'll screw it on. I'll yank on this thing a couple of times, and I'll show you what my gauge says. This is a cool old compression tester. There we go. I don't think I had this on there all the way. Well, without any oil or anything in there, it's like 90 psi, and I think once it's running with gas, it's higher. It's like 100 psi. And normally it's like 60. So even if it is only 20 psi, which I know it's higher before I did a test, and can you see that? See? I'm the worst cameraman. It's upside down, in the shadows. It's about 85. Yeah. So, and then, I don't know. I have another engine, but it's getting dark out. I don't know how good it'd be. I could show you what a normal engine is. It's like 50 psi. Most of them are at 45 psi. Oh, you fell down. So, I'm gonna, oh yeah. This is something I made. It's kind of dirty, but it's clean where it counts. It's a pit bike carburetor. You know, I had trouble wearing out the original Briggs & Stratton carburetors, which I like, the Pulse Jet carburetor. So I made this intake just out of a piece of tubing. Some welds, some booger bubblegum welds. And like I said, it's from a 110cc pit bike. And I've got the needle adjusted pretty rich. I don't know if you've ever worked with a motorcycle carburetor. They have, there's a needle in here that you can adjust the richness by. There's a little circlip, and there's 3 or 4 positions depending on which one you have. And you need to see what I'm doing. Yeah, so I'm gonna put that on. Put this muffler on. Pour some oil in it, and try to start it. Cool. Alright guys, moments of truth. I got my little Dawn bottle. It's full of 2-stroke gas, which is probably fine for this since it hasn't ran in a while. Or, I don't know. So, we'll just fill up this hose. Yep, until I start squirting out the top. Choke. It's clamped down. I got oil in it. Here's the throttle. So let's see how many pulls you think. I'm gonna say 3. Yeah, that sounds optimistic enough. That was 2. Oh, that's 3. I guess I'm wrong. Choke off. It's running. I did something right. A little more choke. Woo! Maybe take the air filter off. This fast. There it is, boys. Briggs and Stratton rebuild. Sorta. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. Leave a like. Subscribe. I only have like less than 30, more than 20 subscribers. But, I don't know. What do you think? Take her easy. Told you. (100 psi), and I have a zip tie holding the throttle open. You can't see down in there. You can't see in there. Just take my word for it. See how far my finger goes in there? Yep. It's like 105.